maybe as you've been interceding, or as you've been thinking about interceding, and maybe as God has been laying people on your heart, or someone on your heart, or you already know someone that you want to be interceding for, maybe you've already started, but maybe you would acknowledge that this person is just lost. And what they need is, they need to be in a relationship with God through the salvation that He has offered in His Son, Jesus Christ, through the gospel, the death, burial, and the resurrection of Jesus. They need to be in that relationship with God through that gift of salvation. I'm going to give you 3 ways from the Bible that you can pray for them to come into that relationship. First and foremost, in John chapter 6, verse 44, Jesus says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up at the last day." No one can come to me unless the Father draws him. So listen, it doesn't matter how good your evangelism strategy is. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much your life has been changed. It doesn't matter how much you serve them and are a servant to them. It doesn't matter how much you love them unconditionally. None of that matters if the Father isn't drawing them. If the Father isn't drawing them, they ain't coming, right? So you need to pray that God would draw them into a relationship with Himself through His Son, Jesus Christ. First and foremost, that's the most important thing you need to do, is you need to pray for their salvation. Pray that God would draw them into a relationship with Him through His Son, Jesus Christ. There's another thing to pray. In Acts chapter 16, Paul and his entourage are in Philippi, of which Luke is a part. Paul and his entourage are in Philippi, and on the Sabbath day, they go down to the river where people would meet to pray. And they sat down there to talk to a group of women. And Luke tells us that one of these women was a lady named Lydia. She was a seller of purple, and she was from Thyatira. And he tells us in verse 14 that God opened her heart to believe the things that were spoken by Paul. God opened her heart to believe the gospel. The second thing you need to pray for people who are lost is that God would open up their heart so that they can believe the gospel, that they can believe whoever is sharing it with them, that they can believe the things of God. They can believe the gospel as the way of salvation. So pray that God would draw them into a relationship with Himself, and then pray that God would open up their heart so that they could believe the gospel, the message of the gospel. Another story in Acts chapter 26, Paul is actually giving his testimony. He's recounting what happened to him on the road to Damascus. And he's talking about how Jesus was speaking to him, and Jesus was sending him on a mission. And Jesus said that He was sending him out to the Jews and to Gentiles. He was sending them out to preach. And it was in order to open their eyes, in order to turn them from darkness to light, from the power of Satan to God, that they might receive forgiveness of sins and an inheritance among those who are sanctified by faith in me. He said, I'm sending you out. You're going to preach the gospel. And the reason I want to do this is I want to open their eyes so that they can turn from Satan to God, and so from darkness to light, and that they can receive forgiveness of sins. Listen, you need to pray that God would open up their eyes so that they could come from light to dark, from darkness to light, from the power of Satan to the power of God, so that they could become children of God. Pray that God would open up their eyes so that they could see the truth and they could see Christ. Pray that God would draw them into a relationship with Himself through Jesus. Pray that God would open up their hearts so that they can believe the gospel, and then pray that God would open up their eyes so that they could see the truth and they could turn to Christ. God bless you guys. Get out there, intercede today, and pray today. Love you. Bye.